Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. What if the most radical thing a woman could do today was to learn how to truly feed herself, not just emotionally or spiritually, but literally, in her own kitchen, with her own hands, in a way that nourishes her body, her values, and her feminine fire? If you are someone who cares deeply about wellness, vitality, pleasure, and living in alignment, but you still find yourself exhausted at 5 p.m., wondering what the hell for dinner again, this episode is for you. Especially if you've ever felt that disconnect between the life you want to live and the systems that make convenience feel easier than nourishment.
Yeah.
Research continues to show that the way we nourish ourselves impacts everything from hormonal health and mood, energy, libido, and longevity. But today's guest believes the issue isn't lack of caring, it's a lack of support, skill, and community. In this conversation, you'll discover how reclaiming your kitchen can become an act of rebellion, ritual, pleasure, and profound feminine empowerment. I'm Amanda Testa, your host. Today, I am joined by the incredible Leigh Senna, a dear friend, founder of KitchenWise, and the creator of The Cook-Along, Rebel Home Ec for grown-ass women. Leigh is an Appalachian homesteader, a raw milk microdairy owner, and former women's coach who spent over a decade helping women reconnect to their sacred bodies, pleasure, and power before bringing that same devotion into the kitchen. Her work blends nourishment, ritual, music, poetry, rebellion, and real food into an experience that reminds women the kitchen was never meant to be just another chore. It can be an altar. Oh, I love that so much, Leigh. That just gives me chills. And she's so amazing. We taught together for many years, and she is a true priestess. So welcome, Leigh. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you, Amanda. Oh, it was just so nice to hear you read that last sentence. You're like, the kitchen can be like we can dance, laugh, pray, have an altar, do all these things. And I'm realizing I also need to add, like, we can twerk. There's like a little more pelvis needed in that description.
Yes, I like it.
Yes, invoking that feminine fire. Thank you for that really sweet introduction. And it's nice to be here with you again.
Yes. And with all the work and beauty that you have been contributing to the world, I'm curious what kind of led to this direction of your work.
Yeah. Well, you and I know each other because we have been in the female sexuality world and helping train coaches for a long time. And even throughout all of that, I've been doing big gardens and animals and living closer to the land, as people know. So I've always had this lifestyle. And what drew me to this lifestyle was, like, after graduating undergrad, I was adopted, not officially, but in the heart, by homesteading families. And I got to see in Iowa what life looked like that was very different than the way I was raised. I got to see moms and dads and families with their children still working together after the child had turned 18. Where I was like, wait, your parents aren't saying once you turn 18, you're an adult and you have to do everything on your own and you just have to go out into the world, which is what my dad was saying. The point of life, the point of me being your father is to raise you so that when you're 18, you can take care of yourself. And so I was seeing a different connection of care and relationship with humans and then also humans to the landscape. And that really touched me. It was like a form of life that was foreign to me in a culture that felt quite devoid of life. I just didn't quite know how to describe that yet in my early teen years.
I think that's so beautiful because it makes me think too, in our culture in general, it's very driven on productivity. and not necessarily the way things were at one point. And even in other cultures where family is very integral and there's not at a certain point, you're out. They're still together. They still support each other. There's also multi-generational living often happening within one household, which
100%.
yeah, is beautiful.
Yeah, because if your mother is like you and I, it would be nice to have a grandma around, help with the kids a little bit. Yes. Yeah, so that's how it all started, and so I've always been gardening, and when you garden, you then have a lot of food you can cook, and I've always been drawn to art forms that I can do to or on or within my body, and so growing food, making food, and then eating food has felt very somatic to me, and I'm a very somatic person, and so that's just happened for the last 25 years. I took a break from the sexuality world. I had a couple huge, huge traumas in my life of losing my son and then almost dying myself to a freak liver injury. And during that time, when I was in the void and deep grief and the underworld, the room I kept coming back to that always was there for me, that never needed me to be a specific way, and that truly became my altar was my kitchen. And I could show up in deep grief. I could show up in confusion and elation and gratitude and peace and emptiness and fullness and chaos. And I could grab a knife and grab some real food and do some things and make something that could then nourish me. And that's when I really started to understand the deepest, most profound layers of this work, which is, for me, myself and a lot of women I've seen yearn so deeply for a spiritual connection to our bodies, our partners, to this living world of deep belonging, which makes sense because our cultural systems don't really provide those for us anymore. They've gone extinct. And our food is literally touch and shaped by the sun and the wind and the soil and all of Mother Earth. And then we take that food in whole form and we bring it into our kitchen, and I'm getting the shivers. It's like laying it on the cutting board is the communing with something sacred. And it's the alchemy of turning it into something that then becomes you. So there I was becoming the rain, becoming the wind, becoming the sun on that day. And because I was in this specific part of my life where I feel like almost all the life was beaten out of me, with death being so heavy around me for 3 straight years and the grief of that, there was something I was able to pick up and register about that subtle energy that's also very strong and foundational. That our spirituality, our belonging, we are shaped by earth. And systems right now have us geared towards convenience food and packaged food and eating really quickly in the car, which I'm not perfect and I have to do sometimes in between my things. But there's also this incredible opportunity to support local farms or go to the grocery store and buy heads of broccoli and whole sides of salmon and make things that are really nourishing, that are simple, but we have skill gaps and we have value gaps. The work of the kitchen has typically been like the woman's work, and we know women's work has been really devalued in our culture, raising children. So there's a value gap. And personally, for me, I love body doubling. So doing something alone over and over again is isolating for me sometimes. But when I can feel more community and connection while doing this thing that nourishes me and my family members, it just makes it feel more like a party. And so I've combined all of those things, and I'm experimenting with this thing called the cook-along.
I just love that idea so much. And first of all, I really admire you and I think one of the things I always learn from you too is the sacredness and the simple things about living. Because I mean, just even how you were speaking to food and how you became the rain and the sun on that day, it just gave me chills because feeding ourselves, you're right, it is such a basic need. And we don't even, so often, we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And how it was such a resource for you. Your kitchen is a place to come and be and grieve and hold all that you were holding, and still a place where we have to go and we can go. And it's a gift and a, like, how wonderful that we have this plentitude that we are able to cook meals versus it always feeling like a chore or God, what are we going to make again? And so I appreciate that. I'm curious to you too, because I also love how you talk about how it can be kind of an act of rebellion to be in the kitchen. And the kitchen can be a radical room. Would you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, yeah. I think that touches into what I was dipping into there about how women's work isn't valued. And maybe trying to think of a good analogy because I like analogies, but maybe a good analogy could be, well, we'll see if I can make this analogy happen. You can grade me at the end of this, and then we'll see what my grade is. I'm going for a B or above. I'm going to bring this full circle, and it's only going to be a 2-minute circle. But let's start with songbirds. There's male and female birds. And when you look out in nature, the males are the ones that have the really pretty feathers. The female ones are like brown and muddled and not super flashy. Why that is that way is because the female birds are the ones who carry life and make life go forward. And so the males need to catch their attention, and the female birds pick the mate that feel the best, the flashiest, does the best bird dance thing, you know? And it's there in that relationship, there's this acknowledgement that the animal who creates life is the center of life, and you want to get their attention, and you're, in a sense, competing to have the honor to get close and nuzzle up to she who creates life. Well, in the human world, we tend to see women getting all dressed up and fancy and trying to woo their mates. You know, we tend to see that in relationships that fall under the traditional sense of a man and woman being together. And it's a little backwards because it is the woman who does create life, and we are the center of life, and we would be the value holders, and people should be getting our attention because of that. It's the same thing as in the kitchen. Like, the person who has the skill to make life force is very valuable. And instead, we've become lopsided where kitchen work is not valued. Nurturing work is not valued. Staying home with children is not valued. We hardly have maternity leave in this country compared to other countries because it's not valued. When a man and a woman get divorced, the woman's not really getting paid for the 10 years she spent as a housewife raising the children while the man built his business. It's not showing up fairly in divorce situations. So those are just things that come to mind. This kitchen is a place of real power, and it has been tricked out of our psyches to be a place that there's always dirty dishes. There's resentment. Oh, I have to cook again. What am I going to cook? I want to be working on my business. I want to be laying outside in the sun and have a break for a moment because I work so hard and I'm already under-resourced as a mom. All of those things. And so the rebellion for me that's radical is really trying to like put that, get that back in balance and say, no, this is the most radical room in the home because this is where you generate life force, and nothing else can happen without life force. You can't work. You can't breathe. You can't laugh. You can't have sex when people aren't well, when life force is depleted. It's really hard to move forward. So this is the most radical task. This is the foundational task, and it's rebellious to reclaim that and start enacting that identity within your own home.
Yeah, I love that. That's so
Okay,
true.
what was my grade?
I give it an A. I love that so much because
Okay.
I love the imagery of those birds too, because if anyone has never seen a bird dance, you need to Google it because it's so exciting and so fun to watch. But I love that. It's like why the peacock has these beautiful feathers. And you think about really honoring the gift of nurturing, because you're right, it's so unvalued and there's so much quote unquote, however you want to call it, invisible labor. But that is what's so important. It is what's so important. And that's what creates life. The nurturing aspect of feeling that nurturing, that's part of being in your sexual energy. It's part of everything. It's just that our life force energy is part of all of that. Like you say, it's the root. I love how reclaiming the act of being in the kitchen as one of really deep rebellion to the fact that this isn't something I have to do, a chore, a task, an annoyance, but this is a gift that I can give myself and the people around me by nurturing us.
Mhm.
That's a very beautiful reshift of it. And not everyone has the same ability to have a lot of time to devote. But that's what I love about what you're creating here with this cook along idea, that you can still find ways to do it, even when you're busy, even if life is challenging. And it can be a place of like, how can you make it a place of more, more resource? Yeah. What are some ways people can do that?
I will I wanna answer that question, but I really actually wanna say this other thing.
Yes, please.
Okay, because that sentence you just shared was phenomenal, and you could have said that same sentence towards your feminine firework. If you take out the, like, words that are like kitchen, cooking, you're saying the same sentences that we say in our relationship and sexuality and pleasure classes.
Yeah.
It's like instead of extracting pleasure from this body, which we have been taught from a very young age as little girls to be the ones to kind of, how do we look sexually? How do we deliver a performance that's satisfactory to our partner?
Yeah.
Extracting,
Yeah.
it's like you're also doing rebellious work because you're trying to flip it back on its head and saying, no, your body is the ultimate sacred space. And your feminine fire is the gift of life within you.
Yeah.
And there's a whole new relationship that you can have with that which lives inside and the pleasure there. And how do we redefine our relationship to sensation and all the different topics that you do bring on this podcast? And so it's very similar work, just in a different aspect of life. But I think we are all spokes on a very similar wheel
Yes.
working towards a center axle that's actually the same thing.
I agree. I agree. I mean, because that's the basis of pleasure, is finding pleasure in all the things that you do.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you because I will just share. I'm not a big cook. I mean, my husband actually cooks more than I do, but I love to go to the store because I feel like what a gift. I mean, I honestly get verklempt a lot in the store because I just look around and I'm like, gosh, how amazing that I
Yeah.
can have all this at my fingertips. What a flipping blessing. What a gift.
Yeah.
And granted, our food supply has its own set of issues, but you still can find great, great food at the grocery store. So I feel that when I go, and I feel like I want to have more devotion around this. So how can I? How can I?
Well, I think the first thing is just feeling into if you want that or not, because I do want to share it. Just because this is the thing that I love so much, it doesn't mean it's everybody's thing. And you're okay to not want this too. And I'm not saying that you don't want this, but I want just for anyone listening, it's okay if your partner, your husband, for example, is the cook. That's okay. And you may be able to find a different room in your house feeling more like the altar for you, and that's totally okay. So let's just say that. Then the next step is if you do want, tell me more. What would you like?
I know at this age, I'm 52, and I do have a lot of care for my health. I want to nourish my body in ways that feel good and move my body in ways that feel good. And food is a big part of that. And I find that for me, I want more ease in the kitchen. I do enjoy being in there, but I find myself going to convenience more often than I should now, which is not great. So
Mhm,
this is what I love about what you're offering because I'm like, this is I need this. I need
mhm,
what you're I need this badly because I
mhm.
do want more division. I do care about it. I want to eat foods that nourish me and make me feel good. And I want to feel less overwhelmed when I go into the
Yeah,
kitchen.
yeah. So in that situation, I would say that's that's part of what I'm trying to design in this experiment and see how it works. Whether you join the cook along or not doesn't matter. You can experiment with yourself on this, but if you can make a little plan where you're like, I'm going to cook some proteins and some vegetables because we know convenience food tends to be more carbs and sugar. So we need to like kind of if this balance the scales, we need to weight our cooking a little more on protein and vegetables to keep it balanced. So freaking go online, scroll through recipes, find pictures that you think are beautiful, find 4 things, 2 meats, 2 vegetable dishes. Go buy those ingredients. When you show up and you're gonna follow those recipes and cook them in the kitchen, how can you set up your kitchen to feel like a pleasure space? Like you would have someone design a pleasure ritual. Do you need to light a candle? Do you need to redesign your kitchen so appliances and electronics aren't all over the place and it's more things that visually really nurture you? I wish I could show you my kitchen right now. It's full of plants and altars and pictures and symbols and like a mob animal and all the things. And that's my kitchen is really beautiful to me. And then what do you do to make that cooking time feel more nurturing? Do you listen to music that really regulates your nervous system instead of just like crunching out another podcast at 1.5 speed or whatever? Do
Yes,
you
that's what I do.
That's what I'm saying, I know, so do I. Do you wear an outfit? Like, do you just could you take a 1-minute shower and put on an outfit with some body oil that makes you feel more like, oh, sensually alive? Do you put on a comedian because you wanna laugh and follow recipes? And you're like, "I just have an hour and a half, and I'm actually not going to multitask. I'm going to nourish in this hour and a half," just like you would take a bath for an hour. Maybe you do some aromatherapy. So, that's a little bit of what we're creating in the cook-along. It's just I'm doing the work part. You just have to show up, buy the vegetables, show up, buy the meat, show up. And then I'm also gonna be funny and bringing in guest musicians and singing and poems and helping make it feel sacred. And then you have that stuff in your fridge because you just cooked way more than you can nibble on right there.
Yeah.
And so whether you do that once a week or it's once a month, that's one way, and then you choose those things, and then you've also made 2 different sauces, and I can dip my chicken into that sauce today, and I'm going, like, Southwest Cajun style, and then tomorrow I'm taking the same chicken, but I'm dunking it in, like, a green herbal chimichurri thing that I made, all basic ingredients. We're not looking for rare foods.
Yeah.
Just basic ingredients, and then you're like, "Whoa, that was 2 days in a row that I didn't eat corn tortilla chips and macrobiotic bars." Those are the things that I go to, and I ate chicken and some really good life-giving sauces that was super tasty.
I love this so much. And I love the idea of a cook along because to me, this sounds so fun. I mean, I
Yeah,
do love community. And I've done things before, like you go to someone, then you gotta like haul the shit back and forth. I'm like, no, I love this so much. It's like
yeah,
this online
yeah,
ritual that we get to
yeah,
do together and
I
have
know.
your glorious entertainment.
I know, I know. I just yeah, not trying to bring it back there, but as you know, I've had a really hard time the last 3 years,
Yeah.
and what's been coming out, through the grief of what I've been going through is like, if I don't have fun,
Mhm.
I don't know what the rest of this life that I'm given is for. I want things to feel novel and joyful and uplifting. And the news we are in contact with right now is so intense if we're on social media and all the things being thrown into our face. So if I ever get back into the online world, which I didn't know if I would, but now I am,
Yeah.
it is going to be fun because
Yeah.
I want that for myself and other women.
Yes. It's such a gift. My family and I spent a lot of time in Italy this year, and we traveled, and my daughter has been doing online school so we could have a lot of flexibility. So I too have been off social media
Yeah.
since October, and it's been incredible. I can't even tell you how good it's been for my mental health. And also just seeing the difference in nurturing in other cultures versus the US.
Yeah.
It's night and day. My body felt so much better. I think a lot of it has to do with just the quality of the food.
Yeah.
I just felt so good and ate real food the entire time
Exactly.
and no processed food and night and
Exactly.
day. I mean, and I get it. We sometimes need convenience, but I love this idea of making this vitality, connection, and community, doing it in a way that's fun,
Yeah.
um, because that really changes the experience of it and makes it more pleasurable and more joyful. And I know just enough about astrology to be dangerous, but like Vesta is one of my planets or whatnot, or stars or whatever it is. And it's like the ruler of the hearth, which is great for feminine fire. But part of that is the kitchen and nourishment. So I,
Mhm.
uh, I have that as a value, but I don't always find the time to do it the way I want. But when I do, it feels so rewarding. So I just think about that, like even the simplicity of, I just did this the other day. I bought some new linen dish towels for like $16. I'm like, okay, I'm getting rid of all these old ratty dish towels. It made such a difference. Of now, this is some little act of pleasure in something little, but it made a big difference in how I show up to the kitchen.
100%. And thank you for bringing up the story of you going to Italy, and it's so true, there are countries around the world that are still very much culturally centered around whole food, and Italy is one of them, and I love that you actually felt that difference because it's little shifts over time that you feel the difference. I do too, like, the weeks that I'm really busy and I kind of don't make space for lunch, and then I'm kind of snacking at, like, 2 p.m. on things. If I do that for, like, 4 days in a row, I start to feel things that I wouldn't directly associate with my diet, but if I have the sense to stand back and look at the eagle eye view, it is very much related. It's like I tend to get a little more irritable or I'm a little more tired, and by 8:30 p.m., I'm kinda like, "I'm done thinking for the day." But the weeks where I can because it's not a striving, that's the other thing. It's like we all as women strive so hard and compare ourselves and then always fall short in our minds in some ways, shape, or form. And so I'm really not wanting to contribute to that narrative. And so it's like I'm not trying to say you need to cook food and eat it real food all the time. And that I'm just trying to say there's a leaning into it when you're able to with joy and beauty, and these little things will add up over time. And it's okay also because we live in convenience culture, so we're, salmon swimming upstream, and
Yeah.
it's okay to lean on convenience sometimes, but let's not beat ourselves up over it. And meanwhile, let's just try to summon the archetype of the Italian grandmother.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. It's the most loving and nourishing and wants to get you involved and wants you to like see where it all came from. We went to this one amazing farm that was everything farm to table. They never have one piece of waste. They use every single thing. She was so cute. She'd do this thing from snout to tail. And she would like turn her cute little booty over and smack it. And oh my gosh, she was so sweet. I'll have to see you'd love this place. I'll have to send it to you. But they make everything there. She started it on her own in 1990 and
Wow.
created this beautiful farm, and she actually trains people on how to do it too. But the thing is she was so excited to show us everything, like the flour and the dairy and the goats and the baby goats and everything. And
Yes.
it was so cool to see like just it's it's beautiful. And it just makes you remember like what goes into food. It's not like you have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
You can have those quick convenience meals, but then when you have the time to give yourself over to the experience of pleasure in the process and have it, you don't have to think. This is what I love about what you're offering is you don't have to
Mhm.
think about it. Like you're
I
gonna give
know.
it I could just show up and like cook along.
I
And
know.
I love this so much. This is such a brilliant idea, Lee. I am so I just think it's so amazing.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Yeah, I'm very excited. It would just be the biggest joy for me to gather women together who are having a blast and then also feel like, "Shit, I just got something done. I just also worked. I did something that I'm going to feel the benefit of. My future self tomorrow is going to be benefited by this." So it's simultaneously like work and productivity and getting something done in a way that we actually need there to be productivity. We eat every day, so we need to be figuring that out, and joy,
Yeah.
connection. Yeah.
And I really love too something you said on your website that I really loved. I want you to talk a little bit more about the values of KitchenWise, what led to that, because I love this company name and I love what you're doing. How it's not, you're not cosplaying a 1950s housewife. It's different. And so speak to that because I think that's important to name.
Cool. Well, I needed help finding those words for my website because I am not a trendy person and I don't know like fancy trendy words. So I was like trying to
Sure.
describe this to my branding person and she's like, "Oh, you're talking about like trad wife and cosplay." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I guess I am. I don't know what those are." But this is what I want to say about that, which is this is real food, not rare food, which I already said once on this, and I'm just on
Yeah.
this interview, and I'm just wanting to say it again. Like, for example, my sales page, you'll see there's a picture of me with my table, and there's plates of food on it. It was really important for me, just energetically, that that meal I cooked that was gonna be featured on the front page was not this, like, fancy meal that I, like, took forever to plan. I didn't know what I was gonna cook the day of the photo shoot, and I opened up my fridge, and I was like, "I have salmon, I have cauliflower, I have some potatoes, I have lettuce out in my garden," and I made things just from what I had, which is a skills I am very skilled in this regard, so that's one reason why I can offer this, is
Yeah.
I'm very skilled at taking what's there and making a beautiful meal out of it. And I just cooked it up, and an hour and 45 minutes later, the photographer came over and we shot some photos. I'm not trying to be a fancy cookbook. I'm not trying to role play. I'm not trying to create a movement that takes so much time where you have to do a lot of makeup and put on a dress and then make your pasta by hand. I love that kind of stuff, but that's not how real women in real life with real access to more real normal amounts of money are going to be nourishing themselves. And
Yeah.
it's fun to see those things on Instagram and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cute." But that's not real
Amen.
for a lot of the people. And so I want to be real.
Yeah. I love too how making it a fun event because I think about people who I want to invite. Like my sister in
Yeah.
Georgia, and my friend in South Dakota. I have all these friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, this will be so fun to do
Yeah.
together. And then we look around and see everyone in their kitchen. I love this so much.
I love that too. Like, I'm starting to think of all my girlfriends that I'm like, I never get to see, but it would be so fun to see you on camera. And then we could like do voice notes after and be like,
Yeah.
how did your chicken taste? Oh my gosh. Yes, this was da da da.
Mhm.
I salted mine a little too much, but this one was amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's just, it's just something that we can bond over. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to say. I'm working so hard to get this out the door right now because I want to offer this buy one, give one free for Mother's Day.
Oh my
And
gosh, I love
so
that.
that's what, yeah, because I was like, that is the funnest gift. If all of a sudden your bestie just reaches out and is like, hey, do you want to do this thing with me? I just will put your email in and
Mhm.
it's free. Just show up.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that as a Mother's Day gift for anyone who mothers, which means you don't even need to have a child
Yeah.
because women mother in a lot of ways.
It reminds me of just how to be more intentional in loving and invite in more pleasure in all the ways. And
Mhm.
also inviting some less rigid rules and
Yeah.
whatnot too. Because sometimes that's the other side of the coin. I see so many people are just way too rigid in their
Yes.
thinking and their what they do and what they eat every day. It's like, and you can relax that a little bit, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
ways to do it that can feel more joyful,
Yes.
less rigid.
Yes. 100%. And that's where I'm going to give recipes, but they're gonna be, like, slightly different than the normal recipe you're used to because part of cooking is or part of getting better at cooking is working on skills, and there's a skill gap, and we're going to be working on that without working on that. We're gonna just be having fun, but we're gonna be working on that. And there's things that you can do with, like, a whole chicken that you'll just learn because we're doing it together once with our hands that it's not like there has to be precision. We're just kinda doing it. And so that rigidness or that precision or that control, you don't really need that in the kitchen as much as you think you do with recipes and fancy cooking techniques.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
It's so great and so needed. And I love, and I will say, Lee, she's amazing and she is quite so skilled in this. And I just love, like years ago when we would work together, she would be like, "Oh, I have to reschedule this call because I'm delivering a cow." Right? It's so great.
Gosh, I'm so sorry I had to reschedule a
I
call.
love it because that's the reality of owning, like living on a farm and
Yeah,
all that it takes,
yeah,
and in some ways, I'm like, that is a beautiful thing because I know for me, I'm like, I'm grateful that we live in a society where if you want to do that, you can, but if you don't, you don't have to.
100%.
Because I remember as a kid, my dad grew up on a farm, and so it was so different, like the dichotomy of that, going to visit like this little rural farming community in Georgia to like being where I grew up, which is still not a huge town. My mom's side of the family was very much city-ish from that town. I love that growing up, having the back and forth of it. It's beautiful. And now the way things are going, the pendulum swings back and forth. There's definite a swing back to being closer to our food and our roots and the
Yeah,
things that nourish us, which is a beautiful divestment from patriarchy and all of those things that have taught
100%.
us that we're above nature, like we are part of it and one with it.
100%. And that's another reason why I consider this so radical, and I don't remember the percentage, but now I wanna look it up and, like, sear that in my brain, which is, just in America back well, it was the Victory Gardens after World War II when people were or during World War II, where it was like, we need to plant more food and get things going for ourselves. There was this resurgence of people growing a little bit of food in their backyard. And that used to be normal, and now it's almost extinct. And actually, our amount of farmers in the United States are almost extinct. There used to be a lot more small family farms, and now it's the same thing as like tech companies. There's a couple large mega people owning a lot of the food industry. And so it's quite radical to either be growing food, which is not what we're talking about here. What I do is a whole other thing that you need a whole other skill set and love doing that. But just to be supporting local farms or buying even just organic food from the grocery store, food that doesn't have toxins in it, it's really revolutionary if you start tracing back who owns what and looking at our food supply under metrics.
Yeah. It is really sad because my dad, of course, was a farm. He was his major was agricultural economics in college. But he was planning on going back and running the family farm. It was a big deal that he left it. But I remember one of the things he always would say was how those big agribusinesses just decimated so many rural farms, like bankrupt so many millions of people and not helpfully, right? He was always against chemicals and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's not alive anymore, but I'm sure he would love seeing how there's a resurgence in like local farms
I
and
know.
not using pesticides because it's, I always think about that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I wish he could see that too. He can, as an
Yeah.
angel
Yeah.
floating around.
Anyways, I'm curious if maybe there's a question that you wished I'd asked that I didn't ask or anything else that you feel like you want to share.
Hmm. Well, I think there's one thing arising to say. I don't know what question would have evoked this, but I'll share what's arising to say, which is I know a lot of us have values. We have values that would say, oh, my body is sacred. The earth is sacred. This life is sacred. And then in the domain that I'm working in, our plates keep us tethered to systems that damage. And so we can hold values. But if we look at our life under a microscope and do a little bit of dissection, our plates and the things we choose keep us tethered to something that's not quite the equivalent of our value. And I think it's good to look at things with eyes wide open and just kind of take a snapshot of what's real in life so you can make informed choices of how you want to either readjust your values or readjust life to be more in alignment with your values. And the food system is tricky because we don't really realize how a lot of things we do consume are keeping us tethered to systems that damage earth and bodies. But there's a lot of power in analyzing one's life and striving or praying or working step by step to realign that difference. And I think the process of doing that does bring more power back to the self.
Mhm.
And my hope is that if you are someone who is feeling a little bit of that dissonance just in this conversation, that this would be a way to bring that difference a little bit back together in a way that just lands on your skin and your heart with ease, not yet another thing to burden yourself with in this endless list of burdens and tasks and to-dos that we do every day as women.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just love you so much.
Love you too.
And I would love if you would share it with everyone listening how they can join us for the cook along and all the other good things you have cooking up.
Yeah. There's other things cooking up. I'm not going to share about them yet because they're still cooking and I haven't tested them. I have not salted them yet. And so I don't know how they're going to taste. Okay. Thanks. The cook along, we will have a sales page connected to this podcast. I'm sure.
Yes, I'll share it.
Yeah. So you could just click that. It's LeighSenna.com, the cook along. And my Instagram's also Leigh Senna. I'm starting to post on there as well and bringing that back to life. And you can email hello@LeighSenna.com if you have some questions. I'm happy to answer them personally as well.
It's Leigh Senna, Leighsenna. So you know how to find her. And I'll also post all the show notes and links and everything so you can find that as well. And thank you so much again for being here.
Yeah, I love you so much. Thanks for stewarding and starting a community called the Feminine Fire Community. Having a place where I can talk about these things and also spend time with you inside of the world you've created.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And thank you all too for listening and being a part. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to stay connected, make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.